In a sterile laboratory at the University of Copenhagen, Professor Hans Eiberg stares at his computer screen in disbelief. The DNA analysis results are clear and undeniable. Every person with blue eyes on Earth shares identical genetic markers, not similar, not related, identical. After years of collecting samples from blue-eyed individuals across continents, from Norwegian fishermen to Irish farmers, from German engineers to Russian artists, his team has uncovered something that defies conventional understanding of human genetic diversity. The implications are staggering. Somewhere in the depths of human history, a single genetic event occurred that would eventually influence the appearance of hundreds of millions of people. But as Eiberg and his colleagues would soon discover, the story of blue eyes is far more complex and ancient than anyone had imagined. What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you understand human evolution. That striking blue gaze that has captivated humanity for millennia, that has inspired poets and intimidated enemies, that has become synonymous with Northern European identity. Recent archaeological discoveries have pushed its origins much further back than anyone imagined. We're not talking about 10,000 years ago, as Eiberg's initial research suggested. The story of blue eyes begins over 17,000 years ago, and it's far more complex than a single mutation in one person. The breakthrough came in 2021 when researchers analyzed the remains of what scientists call Villa-Bruna man, a child who died in the mountains of northern Italy 17,000 years ago. His DNA revealed something that shattered previous assumptions. He possessed the complete genetic markers for blue eyes, pushing back the timeline by over 7,000 years. This discovery forced scientists to completely reconsider everything they thought they knew about blue eyes, human migration, and the genetic history of Europe. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating. Blue eyes didn't arise just once in human history. Multiple genetic studies now show that this trait has appeared independently in different populations across the globe, from the Dinka people of South Sudan to certain Aboriginal Australian groups, from isolated Pacific Island populations to some Native American tribes, like the Mandan. Blue eyes represent one of evolution's most successful recurring innovations. Why did this particular mutation prove so advantageous that it appeared multiple times throughout human history? The answer lies in understanding both the complex genetics involved and the diverse environments where blue eyes provided crucial survival benefits. But first we need to understand exactly what creates blue eyes and why the scientific community had to completely revise its timeline. The genetics of blue eyes is far more complex than early researchers realized. The primary mutation occurs in the OCA2 gene, which controls melanin production in the iris. Think of it as a biological dimmer switch. When this switch is turned down, instead of producing brown pigment, the eye produces very little melanin at all. The blue color you see isn't actually blue pigment. It's the result of light scattering through the iris structure, the same Rayleigh scattering phenomenon that makes the sky appear blue. But here's a crucial point that earlier research missed. The first person to carry this mutation would not have had blue eyes. Blue eyes are a recessive trait, meaning you need two copies of the gene, one from each parent, to express the characteristic. The original carrier would have had brown eyes, as would their children. Only when their descendants inherited the mutation from both parents would the first blue-eyed person be born, likely several generations after the initial genetic change. This explains how blue eyes could have ancient origins but still appear suddenly in the archaeological record. The genetic foundation was laid thousands of years before anyone actually had blue eyes. When researchers found that 17,000-year-old Villa-Bruna child with blue eyes, they weren't seeing the beginning of the mutation. They were seeing a trait that had already been circulating in European populations for potentially much longer. The discovery of Villa-Bruna man revolutionized our understanding of ancient European populations. This child lived during the last glacial maximum, when ice sheets covered much of northern Europe, and temperatures were significantly colder than today. His DNA revealed not just blue eyes, but a complex genetic signature that tells the story of Ice Age survival and adaptation. Genetic analysis of Willebrunner Man revealed several crucial insights. First, he belonged to a population of Western hunter-gatherers who had developed a suite of adaptive traits for survival in harsh northern environments. Second, his genome showed clear evidence of the genetic variations that would later become common in modern Europeans. Third, and most remarkably, his DNA suggested that blue eyes were not a rare mutation, but were already established in European populations by 17,000 years ago. But the story goes back even further. Recent evidence suggests that blue eyes may have originated with Neanderthals, our extinct cousins who dominated Europe for over 200,000 years. Neanderthal DNA analysis has revealed genetic variants associated with light skin, blonde and red hair, and potentially blue eyes. When modern humans arrived in Europe around 45,000 years ago and interbred with Neanderthals, they may have inherited these traits. This Neanderthal connection explains several puzzling aspects of blue eye distribution. Why are blue eyes so strongly concentrated in European populations? Why do they appear in such high frequencies in certain regions? Why do they seem to be linked to other traits like light skin and certain hair colors? The answer may lie in the fact that blue eyes represent ancient Neanderthal adaptations to European environments that were preserved through interbreeding. Every person of European ancestry carries some Neanderthal DNA, typically 1 to 3% of their genome. This may include the genetic foundation for blue eyes, light skin, and other traits that proved advantageous in Ice Age Europe. Recent studies have identified specific Neanderthal genetic variants that influence skin pigmentation, hair color, and potentially eye color in modern Europeans. The environmental advantages of blue eyes become clear when you understand the challenges of life in Ice Age Europe. During the last glacial maximum, much of northern Europe was covered in ice. Temperatures were 10–15 degrees Celsius colder than today, and daylight hours were severely limited during winter months. In these conditions, the ability to see clearly in low-light conditions could mean the difference between life and death. Blue eyes provided several crucial advantages. The reduced melanin that creates blue coloration allows significantly more light to enter the eye, improving vision in low-light conditions by up to 15%. This advantage would have been critical during the long, dark winters of the Ice Age, when hunting and foraging had to continue despite limited daylight. Blue-eyed individuals could hunt more effectively during dawn and dusk, the prime times when many Arctic animals are active. They could navigate treacherous terrain better in the extended twilight of northern latitudes. They could spot predators and prey in conditions where brown-eyed individuals struggled to see clearly. In an environment where survival often depended on visual acuity in marginal light conditions, blue eyes represented a significant evolutionary advantage. The advantages weren't limited to vision. Blue eyes are often linked genetically to lighter skin, which provides better vitamin D synthesis in low UV environments. In northern Europe, where sunlight was scarce for much of the year, the ability to produce vitamin D more efficiently could mean the difference between healthy bones and rickets, between strong immune function and disease susceptibility. Archaeological evidence strongly supports this theory. Analysis of ancient European hunter-gatherers consistently shows that blue eyes were common among these populations. Every sequenced genome from Western European hunter-gatherers reveals the genetic markers for blue eyes. This wasn't a rare mutation that spread gradually. It was already established in European populations by the time we have clear archaeological evidence. The Kostenki site in Russia dating to 37,000 years ago, has provided additional evidence. While DNA preservation from this period is extremely rare, analysis of available genetic material suggests that blue eyes may have been present in European populations much earlier than previously thought. This pushes the potential origin of blue eyes back to the earliest period of modern human presence in Europe. But blue eyes weren't distributed evenly across ancient Europe. Genetic analysis reveals clear patterns related to geography and climate. Populations in more northern latitudes showed higher frequencies of blue eyes, while southern European populations maintained higher frequencies of brown eyes. This gradient pattern suggests that blue eyes were actively selected for in northern environments, while remaining neutral or even slightly disadvantageous in southern regions. The ice sheets that covered much of northern Europe during the last glacial maximum created isolated populations that developed distinct genetic characteristics. As these populations adapted to their specific environments, traits like blue eyes became concentrated in regions where they provided the greatest advantage. When the ice sheets retreated around 11,000 years ago, these genetically distinct populations began to expand and interact, spreading blue eyes across a much wider area. The concentration of blue eyes in specific modern populations tells the story of these ancient migrations and adaptations. Today, the highest frequencies of blue eyes are found in the Baltic states, where over 80% of people have blue eyes, followed by Finland and Estonia at around 75%, Iceland at 72%, and parts of Scotland and Ireland at 50 to 60%. These numbers reflect thousands of years of genetic isolation and continued selection for blue eyes in northern environments. But the story of blue eyes extends far beyond Europe. As human populations migrated across the globe, different groups independently developed blue eyes through separate genetic pathways. The Dinka people of South Sudan, one of the darkest-skinned populations in Africa, have a high frequency of blue eyes with no evidence of European ancestry. Genetic analysis shows their blue eyes result from completely different mutations than European blue eyes. A clear example of convergent evolution, this independent evolution of blue eyes in Africa reveals something profound about human adaptation. The Dinka live in regions with intense sunlight and high UV radiation, exactly the opposite conditions from Ice Age Europe, yet they developed blue eyes, suggesting that this trait provides advantages in diverse environments, not just the northern European context where it was first documented. Research into Dinka blue eyes has revealed fascinating insights. Despite their very dark skin, which provides excellent protection against UV radiation, some Dinka individuals have developed blue eyes that appear to provide advantages in specific visual tasks. These advantages may include better motion detection in bright conditions, enhanced depth perception, or improved visual processing in certain lighting conditions. The existence of blue eyes in multiple African populations challenges simple assumptions about human genetic diversity. Beyond the Dinka, blue eyes appear in some Ethiopian populations, certain West African groups, and isolated populations in other parts of the continent. Each instance represents independent genetic innovation, suggesting that blue eyes provide advantages across diverse human environments. Pacific Islander populations provide another example of independent blue eye evolution. Certain groups in Melanesia and parts of Australia possess blue-eyed variants that appear completely unrelated to European genetics. These populations developed blue eyes through entirely separate genetic pathways, again demonstrating convergent evolution towards similar adaptive solutions. The Solomon Islands present a particularly interesting case. Some populations there have developed not just blue eyes, but blonde hair as well, creating a striking appearance that superficially resembles European characteristics but results from completely different genetic mechanisms. This independent evolution of similar traits suggests that certain combinations of characteristics provide advantages across diverse human populations. Native American populations also show evidence of blue eyes that predate European contact. The Mandan tribe of North Dakota was famous for having blue-eyed individuals, leading to extensive speculation about pre-Columbian European contact. However, genetic analysis suggests that at least some Native American blue eyes resulted from independent mutations rather than European admixture. The psychological and cultural impact of blue eyes has been profound throughout human history. Because blue eyes were relatively rare in most global populations, they often carried special cultural significance. In many ancient cultures, blue eyes were interpreted as divine or supernatural. This cultural interpretation may have created additional selection pressure, as blue-eyed individuals gained social advantages that increased their reproductive success. Norse mythology consistently describes gods like Odin and Thor with piercing blue eyes. Celtic traditions associated blue eyes with magical abilities and spiritual sight. Germanic tribes often viewed blue eyes as markers of divine favor or noble lineage. These cultural interpretations weren't merely aesthetic preferences. They reflected the real advantages that blue eyes provided in Northern European environments. The rarity of blue eyes in most global populations enhanced their cultural impact. When blue-eyed Europeans encountered other populations during exploration and colonization, their distinctive appearance often made powerful impressions. Historical accounts consistently describe the shock and fascination that blue eyes created in populations that had never seen this trait. Chinese chronicles from the Tang dynasty describe barbarians with sky-colored eyes encountered along the Silk Road. Arabic texts from the medieval period note the unsettling effect of blue-eyed crusaders. Japanese accounts from the earliest European contacts consistently mention the strange, light-colored eyes of foreign visitors. These reactions suggest that blue eyes carried psychological impact that extended far beyond their practical advantages. Modern research has revealed additional advantages that blue eyes provide in contemporary environments. Blue-eyed individuals show superior performance in certain visual tasks, including motion detection and contrast sensitivity. They demonstrate better adaptation to rapidly changing light conditions, which provides advantages in activities ranging from driving to sports. Some studies suggest enhanced depth perception and improved performance in activities requiring precise visual coordination. Recent research has also revealed that blue eyes provide advantages in modern technological environments. Blue-eyed individuals show less eye strain when working with computer screens for extended periods. They demonstrate better visual processing of certain types of digital displays and may have advantages in activities requiring precise visual discrimination in artificial lighting conditions. However, blue eyes also come with significant disadvantages. They're more sensitive to bright light and UV radiation, requiring protection in sunny environments. This light sensitivity explains why blue eyes remained concentrated in northern latitudes. The same lack of melanin that improved low-light vision created vulnerability to intense sunlight. Blue-eyed individuals have higher rates of certain eye conditions, including macular degeneration and some forms of eye cancer. The reduced melanin that creates blue eyes also reduces protection against UV damage, making regular eye protection essential in sunny climates. This trade-off between low-light advantages and UV sensitivity illustrates the complex nature of evolutionary adaptations. The genetics of blue eyes continue to reveal new complexities as research techniques improve. Modern DNA analysis shows that blue eyes actually represent a spectrum of genetic variants, each creating slightly different characteristics. Different mutations can produce ice blue eyes, blue-green variations, or gray-blue combinations. Each represents a slightly different evolutionary path towards similar functional advantages. Whole genome sequencing has revealed that blue eyes are linked to other traits through genetic proximity. Many blue-eyed individuals also carry variants affecting pain sensitivity, with some studies suggesting reduced sensitivity to certain types of pain. Blue eyes are associated with different alcohol metabolism rates, potentially affecting both alcohol tolerance and susceptibility to alcoholism. Research has also identified connections between blue eyes and immune function. Some genetic variants associated with blue eyes appear to influence immune system responses, potentially affecting susceptibility to certain autoimmune conditions. These linkages suggest that the regions of DNA controlling eye color also influence other important biological functions, creating complex patterns of inheritance that scientists are still unraveling. The evolutionary history of blue eyes reveals important insights about human adaptation and migration. By tracking the spread of blue eye variants, researchers can map the movement of ancient populations across continents. Different blue eye mutations serve as genetic markers for different migration routes and population mixing events. Analysis of ancient DNA from archaeological sites across Europe has revealed the complex process by which blue eyes spread through populations. Rather than a simple expansion from a single origin point, blue eyes appear to have spread through multiple waves of migration and population mixing. Each wave carried different genetic variants, creating the complex pattern of blue eye genetics we see today. The Yamnaya culture, which expanded across Europe around 5,000 years ago, played a crucial role in spreading blue eyes. These steppe peoples carried high frequencies of blue eyes and mixed extensively with existing European populations. Their expansion helps explain why blue eyes are found across such a wide geographic range in modern Europe. The Anglo-Saxon migrations to Britain around 1,500 years ago brought additional blue eye variants to the British Isles. Viking expansions carried Scandinavian blue eye genetics to Iceland, Greenland, and even North America. Each migration event added new genetic diversity to the blue eye trait, creating the complex patterns we observe today. Medieval population movements continued to shape blue eye distribution. The Crusades brought blue-eyed Europeans into contact with Middle Eastern populations. The Mongol invasions of the 13th century may have spread blue eyes eastward into Asian populations. Each historical event left genetic traces that modern researchers can identify and analyze. The age of exploration and colonization dramatically expanded the global distribution of blue eyes. European explorers and colonists carried blue eye genetics to every continent. The Spanish colonization of the Americas, the British settlement of Australia, and the Dutch expansion into South Africa all contributed to the global spread of blue eyes. But colonization also revealed the independent evolution of blue eyes in other populations. European colonists were often surprised to encounter blue-eyed individuals in populations with no previous European contact. These encounters provided early evidence for the convergent evolution of blue eyes in different human groups. The demographic impact of blue eyes on colonial encounters was significant. Blue-eyed Europeans often received special treatment from indigenous populations who interpreted their appearance as supernatural or divine. This advantage may have influenced the success of certain colonial ventures and the formation of colonial social hierarchies. Modern genetic analysis of colonial-era populations reveals complex patterns of genetic mixing. Blue eyes spread through indigenous populations at different rates, depending on social factors, geographic isolation, and cultural practices. Some populations showed rapid adoption of blue eye genetics, while others maintained genetic isolation for centuries. The Industrial Revolution and modern transportation created new opportunities for blue eye spread. Immigration patterns brought blue-eyed Europeans to industrial centers worldwide. The two world wars caused massive population movements that further mixed blue-eye genetics with other populations. Contemporary global migration continues to reshape blue-eye distribution. International marriage and migration mean that blue eyes now appear in populations across the globe. However, genetic mixing also means that the isolated conditions that allowed blue eyes to reach high frequencies in certain populations are disappearing. Mathematical models suggest that blue eyes will gradually become rarer as global populations become increasingly mixed. Without the geographic isolation that allowed blue eyes to concentrate in northern European populations, random genetic mixing will reduce their frequency over time. However, cultural preferences may counteract this trend. Research into mate selection shows that blue eyes continue to be perceived as attractive across diverse cultures. If this preference continues, selective mating patterns could maintain blue eye frequencies despite genetic mixing. Some studies suggest that blue-eyed individuals have advantages in mate selection that could preserve the trait even in mixed populations. Emerging genetic technologies add new complexity to the future of blue eyes. CRISPR gene editing techniques could theoretically allow parents to choose eye colors for their children. This technology could potentially disconnect blue eyes from their evolutionary origins entirely, making them a matter of choice rather than inheritance. Current research into blue eyes spans multiple scientific disciplines. Geneticists continue to identify new variants and understand their functional effects. Anthropologists study the cultural impact of blue eyes across different societies. Evolutionary biologists investigate how blue eyes spread through populations and what advantages they provided. Neuroscientists are exploring how blue eyes affect visual processing and perception. Some research suggests that blue-eyed individuals may process visual information differently, potentially explaining some of the advantages they demonstrate in certain tasks. These differences may reflect adaptations to the specific lighting conditions of northern European environments. Medical research continues to investigate the health implications of blue eyes. Understanding the connections between eye color and various health conditions could lead to personalized medical treatments. Blue eye genetics may also provide insights into other pigmentation-related conditions and treatments. Archaeological research continues to push back the timeline for blue eyes. Each new ancient DNA sample has the potential to reveal earlier evidence of blue eyes or identify new populations that carried this trait. Future discoveries may reveal that blue eyes are even more ancient than current evidence suggests. The story of blue eyes also illustrates broader principles of human evolution and adaptation. It shows how random genetic mutations can provide survival advantages in specific environments. It demonstrates how cultural factors can amplify biological selection pressures. It reveals how ancient adaptations continue to influence modern human diversity. Perhaps most remarkably, blue eyes show how a single genetic change can have cascading effects across thousands of years. The mutations that created blue eyes over 17,000 years ago continue to influence everything from individual visual capabilities to global patterns of human attraction and cultural symbolism. They affect mate selection, social interactions, and even professional opportunities in ways that their original carriers could never have imagined. The preservation of blue eyes through genetic inheritance also demonstrates the remarkable continuity of human genetics. Every blue-eyed person today carries genetic variants that were present in Ice Age populations. Their DNA contains molecular records of ancient adaptations, migrations, and survival strategies that shaped human evolution. Modern blue-eyed individuals are living links to ancestors who survived the last glacial maximum, who developed the technologies and social structures that would eventually give rise to civilization. Their eye color represents not just an aesthetic trait, but a connection to the deepest roots of human adaptation and survival. As we continue to study blue eyes through increasingly sophisticated genetic techniques, we gain insights not just into this specific trait, but into the broader processes that have shaped human diversity. Each discovery adds new chapters to the story of how humans have adapted to diverse environments across the globe. The future of blue eye research promises continued revelations. As ancient DNA techniques improve, we may discover evidence of blue eyes in even earlier populations. As our understanding of genetics advances, we may identify new functions and advantages that blue eyes provide. As global populations continue to mix and evolve, we may witness new patterns of blue eye distribution and frequency. The story of blue eyes reminds us that human diversity is not just about differences between populations, but about the remarkable adaptability of our species. It shows how genetic innovations can spread across continents and persist across millennia. It demonstrates that even seemingly simple traits like eye color carry complex histories of survival, migration, and cultural development. When you look into a pair of blue eyes today, you're witnessing the result of over 17,000 years of human evolution. You're seeing a trait that helped our ancestors survive in Ice Age Europe, that influenced the development of entire cultures, that shaped historical encounters between populations, and that continues to affect human interactions in subtle but significant ways. From the laboratories where scientists continue to decode the genetic mysteries of blue eyes, to the archaeological sites where researchers uncover new evidence of our blue-eyed ancestors, the story continues to unfold. Each new discovery adds depth to our understanding of human evolution and reminds us that we are all carriers of ancient adaptations, living links to ancestors whose genetic innovations continue to shape who we are today. The blue eyes that captivate us today are not just beautiful features, but windows into the entire history of human adaptation, migration, and survival. They represent one of evolution's most successful experiments in human diversity, a trait that has influenced the course of human history and continues to shape our understanding of what it means to be human in an interconnected world.